telling you briefly the meaning of the two prayers that were recited, one at the beginning of the session and one at the end of the session. The prayer with which we began is a customary prayer, and it's a prayer which the teacher and the taught say together for both of them. Like any Vedic or Upanishadic mantra, it starts with an Om. Om is a symbol of the divine. And one can expand a lot on Om itself, but let me give you one of the simplest interpretations, which at least is logical and makes sense, why Om symbolizes the divine. Om is made up of three syllables, A, U, and Ma. When you chant A, if you try to do that, you'll find that the sound comes from the throat. When you do U, U, the sound is produced by the mouth. And when you chant Ma, the humming sound, then you find that it comes from the lips. Now, any sound that we produce in any language is produced from somewhere within this range between the throat and the lips. And therefore, these three symbols put together symbolize, in a way, a totality, an entirety. But then the entirety that is manifest is not all that the divine is. There's also the divine that is unmanifest. That is represented by the silence between two Oms. And that's why generally we chant this Om, not just once, but thrice. And the silence between any two contiguous Oms symbolizes the unmanifest divine. Then, the mantra begins with Saha Navavatu, Saha Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. So, Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahana Bhavatu, protect both of us. Sahana Bhunaktu, nourish both of us. Let us both enjoy and consume together. Bhog, Bhunaktu comes from Bhog. So let Bhog is both consuming and enjoying while consuming. Now, consuming is not only food, consuming can also be knowledge. So let's, through our study, get nourished, and it's that prayer for that. So prayer for protection and prayer for nourishment through knowledge, so that we consume that knowledge and enjoy it. And it also carries a connotation of being offered to the divine. So all that is implied in Bhog, the word Bhog. So the entire action of learning is being consecrated by being offered to the divine. Then Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Now here a little bit about pronunciation, because some people, particularly in the north of India, have a tendency to say Karvavahai. It's not Karvavahai. Once again, as we discussed in case of yoga yesterday, here the Ra is full, and therefore it is Karavavahai. So, Sahanavavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Now, Saha Viryam Karavavahai means let our actions, whatever we do, be full of vigor and energy. Virya means, is vigor and energy. And Karava is whatever we do. Here it implies studying, but whatever we do, let it be filled with vigor and energy. And that includes everything, including studying. And if you notice, in Sanskrit, the words are very meaningful. There are certain roots which are pressed into service in different contexts to suggest a similar flavor. Kara means hands. So Karava, work. Why? Because we work with our hands. So Saha Viryam Karavavahi, let whatever we do be full of energy and vigor. And then Tejasvinavadhitamastu. Now, this can be understood better if we try to break it up a bit. Tejasvi means bright, brilliant, shiny. Tejasvi Navadhitamastu. Now, Navadhitamastu starts with now. Now means both of us. Here, both of us means teacher and the taught. It can be a large number, but and this entire mantra is, between the teacher and the taught. So the word used has been now again. In Sahanavatu, Saha, now Avatu. So now means two of us, both of us. So Tejasvi, Navadhitamastu. Navadhitamastu also starts with now, both of us. Then Adhi. Adhi means the intellect, the thinking, or the study. Tejasvi Nava Dhita Mastu. Now, after Adhi is Tama. Tama means to the greatest degree. For example, Uttam, the best. Sarvottam, the best. So, Tama means an extreme degree, the highest degree. So, Tejasvi Navadhitama Astu. So, it ends with Astu. So, it's not Mastu. So, actually, the Ma part is with the Ta. Tama Astu. Astu means so be it. So, Tejasvi Navadhitam Astu means let our study, what we studied together. So, again, that togetherness emphasized. The teacher and the student are both learning and studying. It's a teaching learning process, as we call it in modern terminology. So even the ancients knew that it's a teaching learning process. It is not that one is teaching and the other is learning. So let our study, both are saying together, let our study be full of brilliance, the light of knowledge, and to the highest degree. Tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Ma means no. Again, it's not ma. Ma means mother. Ma means no. There's a little shade of a difference. In ma, which means mother, there's a little nasal, sound. In ma, there is no nasal sound. It's just ma. Ma means no. Ma vidvishavahai. Vidvisha means, dvesh means conflict. Let there be no conflict between us. Let there be no hostility. Let there be no clash. Now, that doesn't mean that the students can't ask questions. They can ask questions, and the teacher may not be able to answer them, but that does not mean that there should be a hostility between the two. So it's that, or to put it positively, let us love each other. Let us have only goodwill for each other. No ill feelings, no conflicts, no clashes, no hostility. So Mahavidvishavahai, let there be no such ill feelings between us. And then it ends with Om, the divine, and 3 Shantis. Why 3 Shantis? One of the explanations is that one Shanti is for peace in this world. The other Shanti is for peace in the other worlds. And yet another Shanti is for peace within, that is peace in our own minds, body and mind. So 3, the individual peace, peace around us in the world, and peace in the other worlds, every place outside this world. So 3 Shantis for that. So it's a prayer for peace at the end. So all Vedic and Upanishadic mantras, when they are recited, generally start with an Om, the divine, and end with Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So that is what this one means. Now the ending mantra. The ending mantra is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. So Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, let everybody be happy. Sarve Santu Niramaya, let everybody be free from disease. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, let everybody see what is good, uplifting, the noblest. And Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, let nobody have even the slightest trace of sorrow. Now, if you look at it carefully, you'll find that while the first, second, and the fourth line are similar, the third line seems to be out of place. So let's first see why 3 similar lines, why so much overlap, and then we'll see why the third line has been inserted there if it seems to be out of place, out of tune with the other 3. So, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, let everybody be happy and comfortable. The second is about free from disease, and third is about not having any sorrow. Now, these 3 can be related, interrelated, but they can also be independent. So the first one, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, the comfort and the happiness, generally refers to the happiness that can come from prosperity. That is the type of sukha, the comfort that sukha refers to. Now, a person may have all the prosperity to have all the comforts in the world, and yet the person may have a disease. Or the person may be miserable because of other factors. So it's not that a person is miserable only because the worldly comforts are lacking. So therefore, having that type of comfort which comes from material objects does not ensure the other two. So therefore, that additional line, being free from disease. Now again, having a disease does not necessarily mean the person is also miserable. And therefore, the person may not have sorrow. The person may have a disease but not have sorrow. That's quite possible. And doctors see many such patients who walk in smiling and they describe their disease as if they're talking about somebody else's disease. And in contrast, there are also people who have no disease and they walk in and have complaints all over from top to toe. But then when you examine them and conduct all types of investigations, you find nothing wrong. So misery and disease are not necessarily interrelated. So that's why the second and the third line are also independent. Let everybody be free from disease. And then the last one, let nobody have even the slightest trace, a bhag, that is not even a small part of dukkha. Let nobody have any bit of sorrow. Now, how about the third line then? Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Pashyantu is to see. Bhadra is that which is good, noble, and uplifting. And what is that? To the highest degree, the divine, which means let everybody see the divine. What does seeing the divine mean? Seeing the divine means being aware of the presence of the divine. And if one is aware of the presence of the divine, then one would try to also tune oneself to the divine. One would behave in a way that befits the divine. You would behave as if the divine is watching us, which means that you'll behave well. Not only that, in any type of difficulty, the person will be aware that this higher force is available to me. I have available to me this higher force of the divine, which can do everything and protect me from everything. And therefore, absence of a material comfort or presence of a disease or any other difficulty in life will not be able to make this person miserable. And in fact, the only way to be at peace is to be aware of the divine. And if we are at peace, now we know that we are likely to be also in good health. So the person will be healthy, the person will be at peace, and then, of course, whatever material comforts he has or he doesn't have, he will not bother about them because he'll be a contented soul. His needs will be far above those of material objects. And no matter what is happening in life, nothing will be able to make this person miserable, because being miserable is also a choice. And if one is aware of the divine, the person can choose not to be miserable. That is one freedom nobody can take away from us. So it means that if the third line is followed, or if the prayer in the third line is answered, the other three are already taken care of. That is sukha, comfort or happiness, being free from disease, and not having any sorrow. They are automatically taken care of if the person is aware of the presence of the divine, is seeing the divine. So that's why there's the third line. So these are the four lines. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.